Welcome into NFL Daily here on Chat Sports. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. We got some breaking news coming out of the NFL as the Seattle Seahawks have claimed Josh Gordon off of waivers. Of course, Gordon was released by the Patriots earlier this week. They had previously placed him on IR with a knee injury. He says he's feeling healthy enough to play. He's ready to go, so they released him, and the Seahawks have picked him up. This is what he has done in 6 games so far this season. 20 catches, 287 yards, averaging about 14.5 per catch. With the 1 touchdown, can still produce at a high level when he's healthy, when he's engaged. Obviously, the Patriots like to spread it around, so the numbers aren't huge there. Now, this is kind of how I think the Seahawks depth chart is going to play out. Obviously, Tyler Lockett's their number 1. I've got Josh Gordon penciled in as their number 2 guy. Obviously, DK Metcalf is having a nice rookie season, so they're a little bit interchangeable there. And then Jaron Brown, of course, as well, works in and out of the slot. But again, the Seahawks claim Josh Gordon off of waivers. Very talented. We know about his history with his pothead-like tendencies, but when he's engaged, when he's active, he can still produce at a very, very high level. Now, the Seahawks are trying to chase down the San Francisco 49ers, who won again last night and lead the NFC West at 8-0. Seahawks right there at 6-2. They have a big matchup coming up next weekend. Los Angeles Rams at 5-3, and then the Cardinals, they're having a nice first season under Cliff Kingsbury, but they're back in the pack at 3-5-1. So let me ask you guys this question. Who wins the NFC West? Is it the 49ers? Is it the Seahawks? I think those are the two. Maybe the Rams make a late push, but their schedule's a bit tougher. I think whoever wins next weekend has a really good chance. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section, and I'm going to shoot it over to my main man, Nick Dais, for the other news and rumors around the NFL that was filmed earlier today.
Yes. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to NFL Daily here on Chat Sports TV. I am your delightful host, Nick Dais, at The Lamb Show on all social media outlets. We got a lot of rumors and reports to address heading into Week 9 of this delightful NFL season. Buckle up your seatbelts, take your shoes off, stay a while, and eat some of that candy that's left over from Halloween, all you trick-or-treaters out there. First of all, big time congrats to the Washington Nationals. They have DC finally being happy about their sports. Though, you know, we got to give a shout out to the Capitals last year who won the Stanley Cup. Back-to-back years, the DC area wins a title in 2 sports for the first time. So hats off to them. But staying with the DC theme, the Washington Redskins. Is it time for one Dwayne Haskins to make his debut as the full-fledged starter for the Washington Redskins? He finally takes first-team reps with the Redskins, which is always a good thing, and it's a good sign for your young quarterback. Number 2, Case Keenum is still battling with concussion-like symptoms, and he's in the concussion protocol with the NFL. They haven't yet announced a starter for this weekend's game against the Buffalo Bills, and moving forward, we know about the quarterback change. We know about the head coaching change. Jay Gruden, bedtime, he's out the building. And then came Bill Callahan, the former Raider head coach, and has been one of the more questionable hires throughout the years, both from an offensive line standpoint and just as a head coach here. And the main thing with the Washington Redskins is you need to see what Dwayne Haskins is capable of, folks. You can't go into next season with so many quarterback prospects in the NFL draft. There's about 5 guys that are realistic top 10, top 15 talents and are probably all going to go in the first round or at the very least be a second round pick. And here are the lists of some of the guys, the notable draft eligible quarterbacks in the 2020 class. We know about Tua down in Alabama, though he's kind of been injury prone throughout his career. We know about Justin Herbert, the Duck up in Oregon. Jake Fromm, who I'm a big fan of because he's played well in big games against Alabama during his tenure as the Georgia Bulldogs quarterback. Justin Burrow, who every single year, I say this all the time, every single year there's a guy that kind of comes out of nowhere and either becomes the number 1 pick in the draft, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, or they play themselves into the first round, like a Daniel Jones, like a Dwayne Haskins, who Dwayne Haskins, let's not forget, was a 1-year starter over at Ohio State. And of course, over at Washington, the former Georgia Bulldog, Jacob Eason, is out there. So Dwayne Haskins has still not thrown an NFL touchdown pass. 0 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. He hasn't thrown over 200 yards in 2 outings combined. So that's a little bit of an issue. But if you're the Washington Redskins, you need to find out if this guy is going to be the answer for you at quarterback, Or do you do what the Arizona Cardinals did? 2 years ago, they take Josh Rosen in the draft. They saw him. They had him in the building. They didn't like what they saw. Cut ties, move on, and go and get you a quarterback like Kyler Murray, which all signs point to them being very, very happy about. Staying with the Washington Redskins, big news came out of one Trent Williams, who kind of has made his holdout more complicated. Really scary report came out that he does not trust the Washington Redskins medical staff because there was a sign of cancer, a growth, about 6 years ago, and the Washington Redskins medical staff came out and said that it's something minor. And you know, if you've ever had anyone deal with cancer in your life or just know anything about cancer, it's definitely a major deal and a major concern. So I understand why Trent Williams felt that way about the Washington Redskins. On top of that, the Redskins have been dreadful. There's a guy who is north of 30. He's been an all-pro. He's been arguably the best left tackle in football, but he has spent a lot of time going through new quarterbacks, new head coaches, new line mates, and he's just tired of losing, and he's an aging vet who wants to move on and play for a contender. You look at the offensive line over with the Redskins right now, it is a bunch of cast-offs from other teams. Donald Penn, left tackle. Eric Flowers, my boy, former first-round pick of the New York Giants. Roulier at center. Sheriff, the former first-round pick for the Redskins. And Moses at right tackle. So these are a lot of guys who are clearly not at the level of Trent Williams. And if you don't have guys, the big uglies up front, to block for your quarterback and your running backs, then your wide receivers can't eat, and you can't be a productive football team. Some of the struggles going on in Cleveland is because their offensive line is not that good. So here's a quote from Trent Williams. I was told it was minor, so I didn't really question it. The lump continued to grow over the years, and it was concerning. But there was no pain involved. If I'm getting told by various people who I put my career in the hands of, telling me that I'm fine, then I'm fine. That's how I looked at it. So it's clearly that Trent Williams has had issues with his medical staff, and now with that coming out into the public, it makes a little bit more sense as to why he held out, on top of why, with us knowing how bad the Washington Redskins have been. Trent Williams went and visited a specialist to find out the growth there, and another guy who's going to visit a specialist this week is one Cam Newton. Cam Newton, the former NFL MVP, hasn't started a game since week 2. Then he got hurt. Then Kyle Allen, the backup, came in relief. And Kyle Allen was the number 1 high school quarterback prospect many years ago. And he's 4-1 as a starter in relief for Cam Newton. And he kind of has the Carolina Panthers, along with the MVP caliber season, the number 1 fantasy football player right now going, Christian McCaffrey, spearheading this Carolina team. They were on a 4-game winning streak until they came off the bye and got absolutely mauled by the San Francisco 49ers. But they are in the thick of things in the NFC, both the South, because they do have 2 games remaining against the New Orleans Saints, so they can make up ground there. And they're also a team that is in contention for a potential wild card spot. So as you look at Cam Newton, he just hasn't been healthy, right? Last year he had the shoulder issues, and then he had surgery in the offseason. And then a lot of people were wondering what kind of Cam Newton were we going to get. People forget how good Cam really was last year. The Panthers were going for the NFC South, and then they ran into the Steelers on that weird Thursday Night Football game where they got the doors blown off them. And then everything kind of just fell apart. If you look at Cam's weapons, he did have a lot of young guys. Curtis Samuel, who missed time his rookie season as a primary wide receiver. Greg Olsen, who's not as good as he once was, though he is still getting the job done. It's not as significant and as important to that offense as he once was. And also DJ Moore last year, who was a rookie. So he did have a lot of new pieces. So Cam Newton, I think personally, when Cam is healthy, he comes back in and takes the reins and takes the steering wheel of this offense and this organization. But I gotta ask you guys, weigh it in the comments below. If Cam Newton is healthy, when he is healthy and he comes back, is he the starter? It's going to be a very important question for the Carolina Panthers moving forward, because this is a former NFL MVP. And a guy right now who is playing at an NFL MVP caliber level is the guy featured in the marquee game of the weekend, and that is one Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson coming off a bye week, the marquee game of the weekend, Sunday Night Football against the New England Patriots. 5-2, like we said, coming off a bye. They seem to be the most cohesive team and the most organized team, and Luckily, knock on wood, because we don't like seeing injuries. They are a team that haven't been hit by the injury bug. The Ravens are 5-2. This is a big game against the Patriots. A team who, not for nothing, the Baltimore Ravens, if you look at the last 10 years of the New England Patriots, what's the one team that has kind of given them a lot of issues? It's the Baltimore Ravens, especially in the playoffs. The Ray Rice run, which they knocked them off in Foxborough. If Billy Cundiff hits that field goal, they probably win that game and they go to the Super Bowl against the Giants in 2011. The year after, they beat the Patriots in the AFC title game. And, outside of Tom Coughlin in the Super Bowls and Andy Reid in the regular season, the one guy that's been causing a lot of issues for the New England Patriots under the Belichick and Brady regime has been John Harbaugh. And now he has a guy in Lamar Jackson who I think is playing at an MVP level. It is going to be the first time that the Patriots are exposed to a quarterback like Lamar Jackson this year. And I'm very, very curious to see what Lamar Jackson is going to do against his historic Patriots defense. At the moment right now, consensus around the sports betting industry, he is a top 8 NFL MVP candidate. And the reason why I'm bringing him up is because I think if Lamar Jackson has a great showing this weekend against the Patriots, he'll be a top 3 candidate. He'll be in the discussion. This is a guy that I would buy stock on right now as someone who likes to dabble a little bit in some sports financial investments. I think Lamar Jackson, if they pull the upset this week, he'll be the main talking point across the entire industry. Whether it's Mitchell and Tom talking about here on Chat Sports, breaking it down, whether it's ESPN, Fox, all these outlets, they're going to be leading it with Lamar Jackson beating the undefeated New England Patriots. And the NFL MVP has become the storyline and narrative award. And that's going to be the main talking point. It's a standalone game, which is going to get factored into everyone's conversation. And public perception is king, especially when you're looking at the sports betting industry, because everyone's going to see him beat the Patriots. And the reason why I'm saying he needs to have a big game for them to beat the New England Patriots. I'm not really going out on a limb, and this isn't a hot take. And I think he'll be in the discussion for NFL MVP. And at the moment, the guy who is leading the charge for NFL MVP consensus as well, I think a lot of people forgot who Aaron Rodgers was. And Aaron Rodgers, over the last 2 weeks, has really taken the reins of a guy who is the leading candidate for NFL MVP. Everyone's talking about the throws Mahomes can make. Everyone's talking about the escapability of Deshaun Watson. Lamar Jackson running around and doing his thing. And I think Aaron Rodgers, being an old head now in the NFL at the quarterback position, is probably saying, surprise, surprise, the king is back, to quote the notorious Conor McGregor. So over the last 2 weeks, he has become the favorite. They are 7-1, are the Green Bay Packers, currently the 2 seed in the NFC side behind the San Francisco 49ers. And he's done a lot of this without Davante Adams, who's arguably the best wide receiver in football, in my opinion. And he's finally figured out the Matt LaFleur offense. Over the last 2 weeks, his numbers are absolutely ridiculous. This season, he's accounted for 20 touchdowns, 17 through the air, 3 on the ground, and he's always been a guy who doesn't turn the football over. So, Aaron Rodgers, I think this has just been a wake up, guys. I'm still here. I still wear the crown, and until you come and snatch it from me, it's going to be quiet for the rest of you. And that's what I think Aaron Rodgers is doing. A team that might snatch that crown from Aaron Rodgers, not only as a top team in the NFC, is currently the top team in the NFC. The aftermath of the 49ers moving to 8-0, Kwon Alexander, the big free agent acquisition from Tampa Bay this offseason. They spent big money to bring him over there. He suffered a pec injury. He's going to undergo an MRI. George Kittle looked like he might have blown out his knee. His reaction after he hit knees with that defensive player on the Cardinals, he's slamming his fist on the floor. And I'm a big body language guy. I'm a big fan of, no one knows how injured you are but you, right? As someone who once tore his ACL, I knew that I messed it up. So I didn't need an MRI and I didn't need the doctors to tell me. So George Kittle, at first, it looked really, really bad. But then when they asked him about it, obviously he went on to score a touchdown. The Cardinals continue to be one of the worst teams historically against tight ends. A tight end, the tight end position either goes over 100 yards or scores a touchdown against this Cardinal defense. Hell, even Rhett Ellison with the Giants scored a touchdown against this Cardinals defense. Congrats. You are about to break all the records when it comes to DVOA against the tight end position. But they asked George Kittle after the game. Jimmy G obviously had a sensational game. His best outing as a San Francisco 49er. And Matt Breida got the ball rolling. George Kittle was asked about it and he said, quote, "It feels great, baby." On to 8-0 are the San Francisco 49ers. Staying with the Cali theme, the golden boy of New England, Mr. Tom Brady, apparently per CBS, has put his house up for sale and is eyeing a team out in California, the LA Chargers. If he is ever to leave New England, it would be for the Chargers and Los Angeles. To me, Tom Brady is a Boston guy now. He's been there for 20 years. So at some point, you are no longer a California kid, Tom. Sorry, Mr. Brady, I should say. Mr. 6 Super Bowls. But from a scale of 1 to 10, if Tom Brady was to leave the New England Patriots and go to another team, how weird would it be to see him in another jersey? In an era and generation of sports fans where it's hard for us to buy sports jerseys because in the NBA, guys are moving teams every other season pretty much. No 5-6 year deal is ever locked in for the duration of that contract. Tom Brady seems to be one of the few guys that are going to be lifers, like Dirk Nowitzki, like Kobe Bryant, like Derek Jeter. And seeing Tom Brady in any other jersey other than New England, 1 being not that surprising, 10 being surprising, I'm putting this at a 15. I would love to get your answers here. Thank you all for watching. Once again, it's at The Lamb Show on all social media outlets. If you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/chatsportstv. It is absolutely sensational. Thank you once again to Chat Sports for giving me this platform. And I'll catch you guys next time on NFL Daily.